Ooh, a rogue deck. Save me an engine. Ooh, all right. That's good. Okay. That's good. All right. That's... All right. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. That's good. It's enough engines. Good afternoon, Jank enthusiasts. I'm MBT, and this is 10-Minute Testing. The first YCS of the Suda season is this weekend, and I'll be participating. On my speedrun to X3, I'm expecting to see a lot of Ryziel, a lot of Malice, and not much of anything else. For that reason, let's get all the bad decks out of the way now. Stuff that would be impressive, but for the top tier. Presenting, as recommended by my patrons, Primite Metalmorph Kashtira Fiendsmith. Ugh.
What do you have to say for yourself?
So here's the list, and what did you expect? As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by HelloFresh. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit, and for good reason. They deliver fresh, pre-portioned ingredients to your door, so you can cut out all the hassle of cooking and skip right to the part where you go, Many people say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and I agree with those people. HelloFresh does as well, and are giving all subscribers free breakfast for life. That's right, for life! That means you get a completely free breakfast item with every single HelloFresh delivery for the duration of your subscription. And if you're looking to eat healthier and get better nutrition, you can count on HelloFresh. Dig into their biggest menu yet with 50+ dinner options, 30 calorie-smart and protein-smart recipes, and even more market items that suit any lifestyle, with each box being fully customizable to fit your preferences with pre-proportioned ingredients, so you only pay for what you need. I cook with my wife during the week, and there's always a problem in the kitchen. Too few ingredients to make a meal, vegetables went bad, or just not enough time, which makes dinner time a disaster. HelloFresh gives us our free time back, and we always know we have enough food for the week. No more single peppers rotting away at the bottom of a fridge, waiting to be used. Click the link in the description or use my code and get 10 free meals plus free breakfast for life. One breakfast item per box while the subscription is active if you're inside the US. Outside the US, the local discount will apply. Now back to the video. So with that, let's ogle oops all engines. Despite the fact that there are 2 linear game plans in this format that are far and away the best things you can be playing, there's a ton of self-contained 8-ish card packages with which you can pair them. The most popular, of course, is Fiendsmith, which plays very little in the main deck to repeatedly set up both consistent access to an Omni Negate or 2 special summon negates alongside a Send Through Paradise. Next up is Kashtira, which sees scant play in some off-meta decks as something you can do when you face down a Fualos or occasionally a Lancia. Primite sees less play than the others, but for now enables a repeatable control engine at the cost of a normal summon in Ether Barrel. And finally, Metalmorph, currently searching for a home, is an extremely versatile series of cards that are able to tag into both an Omni Negate and Time Win Con, as well as a whack-ass detonator in Metal Zoa X. So, what are these all doing in the same deck? Well, whatever my patrons want, basically. I'm going to be honest with you, I think there's a real justification for Fiendsmith or Primite in the same deck, but the others are just a little too much doing the exact same thing. Regardless, hopefully what we've put together is a 2017 style deck full of self-contained good cards with the ability to pivot between the different engines as they're interrupted. Realistically, we've probably just made the most delicious meal that Droll Lockbird ever ate. So with that, let's get into the card by card. Let's begin with the Metalmorphs. We've got Red Eyes Black Photo Metal Dragon, Metal Zoa X, who I guarantee you haven't read. This card has to be tributed by sending a level 5 or higher Fiend monster. See, there's synergy. And, of course, a can twice per turn when your opponent activates a monster effect or a spell card or effect. Target a face of monster your opponent controls and destroy it. We've got our Metal Illusionist, who competes for the normal summon, really no way around this. 1 copy of Incoming Machine, which allows you to add a monster that mentions max Metalmorph or Metalmorph Trap from your deck or graveyard to your hand. And if you control a Metalmorph Trap, you can banish it from the graveyard to target a defense position monster your opponent controls and change it to attack position. And finally, max Metalmorph, which gets out the full metal in the first place. For Kashtira, we're on 3 Unicorn, 2 Fenrir, a Birth, and a Wraithsoth. For Fiendsmith, we're on 3 Engraver, 1 Lacrima, 1 Lurie, 1 Tract, and 1 Paradise. Then for Primites, we're on 3 Ether Barrel, and our normal target is Red Eyes. I'm telling you, there's something there. Finally, we've got Primite Lordly Load and 1 copy of Drill Beam. For non-engine, we're on 3 Fualos, 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Effect Veiler, Called By, and 3 Infip. In the extra, we are on 2 copies of Requiem and 1 copy of Desiree. We're on Striker Dragon, Pisty, Double Seals, Moon of the Closed Heaven, Fiendsmith Sequence, SP Little Knight, Agnum Day, because what else are we doing? Aboa Ku, DD Wave, High King Caesar, Chaos Angel, and half of Caesar. In the side, we are on 3 Lancia, 2 Meowls, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, 1 Talent, triple Tactics Thrust, Book of Eclipse, and a Dimensional Barrier alongside a Sanctum. So with that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is up against Fiendsmith Primite Magic. Okay, looks like I'm not the only one trying to force good cards in bad decks. Our hand is pretty frustrating. Okay, we're going to begin with a copy of Unicorn. Unicorn is going to grab a copy of Birth, and then we're going to fire off this copy of Incoming Machine. We're going to go ahead and grab a copy of Illusionist, who we will use to call Dragon. We'll set a Max Metalmorph, set this Birth, set this Infip, and yeah, that's the entire turn. Now, I know this looks low power, but it's actually quite strong. They're going to begin with a copy of Lordly Load. We will ash that. Then at point of resolution, they will go for a copy of Fiendsmith Engraver. We will Max Metalmorph here into Red Eyes Blackfill Metal Dragon as they grab a copy of Tract. We'll also banish that Requiem as well. They'll go for Magic Key World, and then they're going to activate Tract. Tract is going to grab Lurry. Lurry goes to the graveyard, and unfortunately for them, that's number 3, so we can use Kashtira Birth to banish all of that face down. From here, they're going to use Magic Key World, and then afterwards, they're going to normal summon a copy of Flamveil Guard, go for the Mafty, which we will negate with a copy of Full Metal, and then afterwards, they will just go ahead and lord out a Clavicus from deck. From this position, they can activate the effect of the Mafteal in hand and go into an IP Masquerena, then extra normal into the Mafteal, activate its effect, which is met with an infinite impermanence. Thankfully, that is the last piece of interaction they have, and they are forced to pass turn. So from here, we can pretty easily kill. We're going to begin by activating Branded Regained. They will activate IP Masquerena, and we will chain the effect of the Full Metal, dealing 1600 points of damage to them on the way to a negate. We will normal summon this Foolos in hand, then use Birth to bring back the Unicorn, going from Moon of the Closed Heaven into Fiendsmith Requiem into Lacrima of the Crimson Tears. We're going to send a copy of the Engraver to the graveyard, and then we're going to equip the Requiem into a Necroquip, summon the Engraver, and then, okay, fine. Nib check here, nib check there. Let's just go sequence. We'll go sequence in order to summon a copy of Desiree, then link those two off for an Agnum Day, trigger the effect of the Desiree, shuffling back the sequence in order to get rid of the Magic Key World, and triggering the Agnum Day because we're so far ahead over lethal, we don't need to do it in combat. We will go ahead and banish another card from their extra deck face down before getting in for well over lethal. Our second match is up against Crystron, and Crystron is a very scary deck. This is the thing I am the most afraid of because I know so little about it, and it keeps beating me. Our opponent's going to begin with a copy of Sulfefnir, but thankfully we have the Fualos, so they're going to have to go for a really low-to-the-ground combo here. They're going to tag into a Sulfador, which draws us 1, then Sulfador send a couple of cards to the graveyard, including... I'm not going to try it. Crystron Inclusion gets activated here, and then they're going to go for the new guy, Tristaros. They're going to summon a copy of a Skeletus, which does draw us another card, but from here they can just use the effect of the Sulfador to cycle the Inclusion. The Inclusion to summon back the Tristaros and set 2 and pass. Pretty impressive board for 2 draws off of Fualos. We'll go for an Imperm targeting the Tristaros, which forces it out early. They're going to go for Sulfefnir, and then Synchro summon a copy of Dark Dragster. We'll go Engraver. We've got a lot of normals in this hand, and the Tract would help a lot. We'll go for Fenrir before we attempt anything, trying to fiend out this Dawn Dragster so we can banish something else, but unfortunately we'll have to waste it on the Tract. We'll go Lordly Load and grab ourselves a copy of Drill Beam before normal summoning the Lurry and making a Requiem. Requiem here turns into a copy of Lacrima. Lacrima triggers, and we will send a copy of the Fiendsmith Engraver to the graveyard. Let's summon it out, then afterwards we're going to activate the Requiem, target the Fiendsmith Engraver, at which point our opponent is forced to use the Crystron Cluster. That's going to pop these 2 cards, or would, but for our Drill Beam. We'll go ahead and banish that, then activate the effect of the Engraver to send the Skeletus to the graveyard on our way to sequence, which eats the last known point of interaction, the Forbidden Droplet. Well, now let's just go to the battle phase and clean up. Then in main phase 2, we will summon back our Red Eyes Black Dragon. From this position, we can link off for an Aboa Coup and then pass back to our opponent. They draw for turn, and it's a Speedroid Terror Top. That's a funny one. Terror Top here gets Takatomborg. We're to activate the effect of the Aboa Coup to destroy this copy of Sulfador. Then at point of resolution, we can activate the Fiendsmith in Paradise in order to send the Desiree and shuffle back one of the 2 cards here. They're going to make a Typhon, but really happy to see this card, just means the game is over. We're going to activate Lacrima in main phase 2 in order to grab ourselves a copy of Requiem, and they'll activate Typhon, to which we will chain the effect of the Requiem to get back the Lacrima, so they have to return that, and we have fodder for next turn as well. We'll draw for turn. That's a pretty bad one. We're going to go for Engraver here. We're going to shuffle back this copy of Desiree, and then afterwards we can use Requiem in order to make the Engraver trade for the Typhon. Next up, we are going to go ahead and normal summon this copy of Ether Barrel. That's going to grab us another copy of Lordly Load. We will activate Drill Beam in Graveyard, resetting it. Then we'll go into a Requiem, activate the effect of the Requiem to summon from hand this copy of Lacrima, using its effect to send another Engraver on our way to sequence. Now we can finally make the Desiree once again, summoning it to our side of the field, and then linking it off for an Agnum Day. We'll go to the battle phase and hit for 18 plus 46. Then afterwards, we are going to go ahead and activate the effect of the Lordly Load in order to reset this copy of Red Eyes Black Dragon, but not before equipping with Fiendsmith Sequence for an extra 1200 attack. Our opponent draws for turn. They're up against a negate, so they don't scoop it up. They don't. Wow. Okay. Hey, if you want me to get in for lethal with Red Eyes Black Dragon, I mean, I'll do that all day of the week. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's playing what else but Fiendsmith Raziel. Our hand is, it's okay. I mean, we like Fenrir, we like Engraver, We don't really like Red Eyes, Black Dragon, and Kashtira Birth, though we can normal summon the Red Eyes. You know, that's maybe something. They're going to begin with a copy of Fiendsmith Tract. Love that we haven't found any hand traps here. But again, playing so many engines means that we don't have much room for non-engine. They're going to go Lacrima. That's going to send a copy of Engraver to the graveyard. Requiem target the Lacrima, and then afterwards the Fiendsmith Engraver summoning itself. From this position, they're going to go into a Necroquip and a Caesar before normal summoning the Sword Ryziel and using its effect to get X'd. X'd here is going to send a copy of Exciton Knight, cute, before going for Duo Drive, and God, I wish I could punish that. Unfortunately, I can't, so down comes the cross, down comes the node effect. They're going to pitch the Fiendsmith in Paradise to summon back Sword and make a copy of Detonator. Detonator effect, they're going to equip this copy of Exciton and pass. We'll draw for turn. Maybe. Let's begin with a copy of Fenrir. We'll activate the effect and grab a copy of Unicorn. We're going to go to the battle phase and use the effect of the Fenrir targeting the Detonator, which they will negate with the effect of Cross. Okay, no big deal. Let's go for Unicorn afterwards. We're going to pitch this copy of Engraver, and then afterwards we can activate Tract. Tract is going to go ahead and send Lurie, who we will activate, into a Detonator proc. Okay, that's going to destroy our Unicorn, and Bestial Magnamut will seal the deal. So it's time for game 2, and okay, this looks better, at least. We're up against one Ash Blossom, but that's probably to our benefit because of the thrust. We're going to go for the effect of Wraithsoth here. We're going to grab a Unicorn, activate the effect, and grab ourselves a Birth as well. Next up, we're going to activate the Birth. We're going to fire off the Tract, and that's going to grab us a Lurie, which we will now pitch. Lurie effect will summon it to our side of the field to go into a Requiem effect, and they will Ash Blossom that. Okay, sure. And we're going to go for the effect of the Unicorn. We get to eat the Requiem from our opponent. Then we get to Engraver, summon itself back, and also we can go Red Eyes Black Full Metal to get a copy of Max Metalmorph. From here, we can triple Tactics Thrust in order to set a dimensional barrier, set one card, pass back to our opponent, and dare them to play. We'll go Metalmorph, sending the Fiendsmith here to go into Metal Zoa X, at which point they're going to go for Ice Ryziel, to which we will activate Infinite Impermanence. No reason to even let them get started, to be honest. Fiendsmith Tract comes down. They're going to go ahead and grab Lurie effect. They'll summon it to our side of the field. But again, we get to wield this Kashtira Birth in a really productive way. They will go Engraver afterwards to grab another one, followed by Sword, but we will just go ahead and debarrier here. No reason to let them even get to an Xyz. Afterwards, they are going to set one and pass turn. Okay, should be able to lock this one up. We're going to go for the Fiendsmith Engraver, shuffling back this copy of Requiem and go to the battle phase. Here's 7 over the Sword. We'll activate the effect of the Unicorn, banishing a Mirror Logic Aggregator, and direct for 37. In main 2, we're going to go for a Requiem, activate the effect of the Requiem to get a copy of Lacrima. Lacrima in order to send from deck to the graveyard a copy of the Fiendsmith. From here, we can go into Sequence effect, shuffle 3 back in order to get the big boy himself, Desiree. We'll activate the effect of the Birth to bring back the Kashtira Unicorn to go into SP Little Knight in order to banish this Fiendsmith Engraver from the graveyard as well. Finally, we will Sequence equip to the Desiree and pass back to our opponent, who draws an Imperm for turn. They're going to go for Ice Ryziel. We will Ash Blossom that. Should be all she wrote because they're going to fire off the Tract, which will be met with a Metal Zoa X. From this position, they can only get the Fiendsmith. They will set one and pass. We'll draw for turn. That's fine. We'll go to the battle phase and wipe it up. Sort of. Eventually. They have to show us they have an Imperm first. So it's time for that all-important game 3, and okay. Ice Ryziel here is going to summon a copy of X'd from deck. Now, here's the frustrating part. We have Meowls, which is fine against Fiendsmith Ryziel, but not fantastic. They're going to summon a Lacrima, then activate the Lacrima effect in order to send a copy of Engraver. We will go for Meowls here because despite the fact that theoretically I could be drawing cards off of the effect of Engraver, I don't want them to draw cards off the effect of Necroquip. It's a bit of push-pull. They decide to give me the draw anyway, which is fun, but they also decide to summon Caesar, which is not. They're going to go Sword Ryziel and then X Ryziel to overlay for a Duo Drive, which does resolve again, and then they'll activate the Duo Drive effect in order to grab a Cross. Cross here is going to ensure that this next play is uninterrupted. They'll go Node pitch 1 for Sword. We get to draw another card, but that's a Cold Comfort on the way to Detonator, attach Twins. They will set a copy of Solemn Judgment, and I really need this Book of Eclipse to resolve. It does not, and so we are cooked. Okay, what do we do here? Let's begin with a copy of Unicorn. We'll go for the effect of the Unicorn for a copy of Birth. They're going to droll us here, and that's just as bad as it gets. We can still do kind of the Fiendsmith line because it doesn't super add to hand, so we'll go Requiem here, activate the effect of the Requiem. They will negate it with Cross. They will activate their Lacrima. We do get to draw a card off Fuelos in a world where we hadn't drolled. God, I hate how this interaction works. They're going to go for Lacrima here in order to send a copy of Tract. We'll special summon a Fenrir. They will Paradise it away with their copy of Desiree, and I think it's probably worth our time to just scoop this one up. I guess we can maybe try out some stuff, get the last couple of material off the Detonator, but doesn't seem very likely that anything productive is going to happen. So we're back with the deck, and wow! I was shocked at how close this looked, especially when it comes to how bad I thought the deck was going to be. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1, because a majority of your cards are from condensed engines, the average card quality in your deck is higher than pretty much everyone else, meaning you can draw some really powerful engine hands. 2. The Fiendsmith part kind of ties the whole thing together. It unites the engines really well as it allows you to turn whatever spare bodies you have into actual interaction, like Metal Illusionist or a Hand Trap and Unicorn. When every engine comes together in the higher quality hands, the board's ceiling is high enough that most decks just can't overcome it, due to its variance in interactions with multiple forms of grind. And 3, the deck doesn't really have a silver bullet. Because it plays so many different engines, they all have different weaknesses, so it becomes a master of none, but also weak to very few cards. And the cons. 1. While most of the engines blend well, Primite and Metalmorph don't. They clash hard in most hands because they both need either the normal summon or a very specific setup. If you see a Metalmorph card without the Primite cards, you won't have access to a dragon for full metal, and you'll have to play around with the pieces in suboptimal ways. 2, the deck is forced to run a pretty notable amount of engine requirements, way more than other decks, meaning that less non-engine makes its way into the list, but also meaning that lower quality cards are centralized. You will see super low power hands like Max Metalmorph plus Lurry plus Birth that amount to very little. And 3, sometimes it's nice to just do one thing very well, very consistently, and more than once. Overall, while Primite Fiendsmith and Kashtira Fiendsmith are both perfectly reasonable decks to play, maybe slapping every single engine together is a bad idea. So that's that. Thanks so much for watching. These videos are completely funded by, and occasionally suggested by, my patrons, some of whom have paid top dollar to be announced at the end of the 10-minute testings. Here are those people now for whom I am permanently indebted. About 99 Donuts, Elena Tincher, Alex Perea, Allison Elliott, Ally, APK, Pearly Tier 0, Brett Henry, Cool Name, Damon O'Neill, Dark Rebel XYZ, Derpin Dragon, DJ Elefante, NB Adams, FPS Lord Derp, Garrett Ran, Hergalicious, Night Mary, Legal Rights, Lockstone, Luis Hernandez, Lullaby of Souls, Master of Faster, Matthew M. DeRezzo, MBT Play Madolce, Mike Carlotti, N54 Lionheart, Nacho Gonzalez, Nebula Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pombo, Project Mercury, Rohan Doge, Rose Lapine, Serpentax, Shelby Piet, Sly Ninja 43, Soul CLG, Troy Says By Erasure Is Gay, Who's Nick, Wonder Waffle, and Yukika Zami. Couldn't have done it without you.